still want to believe, with everything that has happened, that there's something called justice. Because if I stop believing that, then what's it all for? Thank you, Jesse.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jesse. That's my new ringtone. Can't get enough. I'm not going to forget that. You shouldn't either. A month ago, Jussie Smollett stood at the very apex of America's social hierarchy. He was a victim. Now, a grand jury has charged Jussie Smollett with 16 felonies. The indictment accuses Smollett of repeatedly lying to police officers in a deliberate effort to fabricate a hate crime against himself. Those are the facts as we know them. What do they mean? Deroy Murdock is a contributing editor at National Review, and he joins us tonight. Deroy, thanks a lot for coming on.
Tucker, how are you?
So I would say you're an expert at taking 3 steps back and assessing the meaning of news events. What's the meaning of this one?
Well, I think we have the presumption of innocence on the part of Jussie Smollett, but beyond that, it looks to me, the evidence seems rather overwhelming with this check we just saw and all else, that he's got a couple major problems. One is illegality, filing a false police report. People have done this in the past, for example, the UVA rape case, the Duke Lacrosse rape case, quote unquote. And there really were no consequences suffered by the people who went to the police and lied to them about events that didn't take place. I think if Smollett, in fact, is convicted, it will send the message, a badly needed message, that if you lie to the police about events that didn't take place, that's very serious, especially in a city like Chicago with a massive crime problem with homicides. You've got police who ought to be finding murderers who were sidelined to work on this fake case. So that's very serious. And then there's a very serious moral problem here, which is in a country that's completely divided with all of us at each other's throats, the last thing we need is one more reason for us to try to strangle each other. And when this whole thing happened a few weeks ago, you had a case involving a black man who's also gay, which made it a racial case, a sexual case. And of course, he blamed it on people who supposedly said, this is MAGA country, which turned it into basically a war on Trump supporters. So the last thing we need in this country right now is people adding to the tension and division that we're suffering already. And I think this is why this man has done something very immoral as well as illegal. And he ought to spend several years in jail breaking rocks as a consequence.
So your final point is the one that really resonates with me. As you put it, we already are at each other's throats. We don't need more reasons to be.
Absolutely.
Why do you think so many of our opinion makers in the media and on social media are encouraging that division?
Well, unfortunately, this is something the left has pushed. I mean, they've pushed racial division for years. I mean, going back to the slave days through Jim Crow and on, identity politics, not looking at us as individuals with whatever talents or shortcomings we may have, but instead by putting us into competing racial camps, sexual orientation camps, and so on, and letting this sort of tension and acrimony continue. And here we have this actor who gets paid $65,000 per episode, inculcating or perpetrating this sort of thing, supposedly so he could get a raise and make more than $65,000 a week working on Empire, which works out, if you do 20 episodes, about $1.3 million, which I think is a pretty comfortable wage, but I guess he didn't like that. And fortunately, he got caught. If he didn't get caught, he would still be considered a victim. He probably would have gone to the Oscars and would have been applauded by all the elite in Hollywood as this black gay man who suffered the most horrible consequences. GQ magazine had a headline about this. It was, "The racist, homophobic attack on Jussie Smollett is far-right America's endgame." And this is the narrative that existed. Fortunately, the police got to the bottom of this, and this whole thing unraveled, or it would still be menacing this country.
It's so sad to see what's happened to American magazines. I spent years working in them. Only the losers remain. Depressing. And very quick, last question. Am I making this up, or is there a theme here that the people who claim to be victims tend to be the more powerful in our society? I can't remember the last time I saw an HVAC repairman or someone on unemployment benefits claiming to be the victim of something. It's always the powerful who claim to be victims.
Very often it's people who are, in elite schools, people in elite institutions, what have you, who claim to be victims. And rather than celebrate the victors in the society, we seem to be celebrating the victims. It's a very, very sad situation.
Yes.
And Jussie Smollett took a sad song and made it worse, which, of course, is the opposite of what John Lennon encouraged us to do.
Deroy Murdock, great to see you.
Tucker, great to see you.